Okay, so today we're going to connect three stories that, on the surface, have absolutely nothing to do with each other. We've got a legendary gambler, a lone penguin on what looked like a death march, and a global superpower's bizarre obsession with a giant frozen island. It sounds random, I know, but stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see how all three of them reveal the exact same hidden truth about how the world really works.
But first, let's start with a puzzle. Let me ask you this. How would you pull off a perfect heist? I'm talking millions of dollars, but in a way where the police can't touch you, because everything you do is 100% legal. Sounds impossible, right? Well, one man actually did it, and he did it by seeing a tiny crack in the system that literally no one else had ever noticed.
And that brings us to this guy, Barney Curley, a pretty mysterious and incredibly cunning gambler from Ireland. Now, back in 1975, Curley was in deep, deep debt. The bookies all knew his name, they were wise to his tricks, and he was running out of options. He needed one last, massive score. So he came up with a plan that was so brilliant, so audacious, it's now the stuff of legend.
See, Curly's plan wasn't about luck at all. It was pure engineering. First, he bought this horse, Yellow Sam, who had a terrible reputation, just a bad race record. Then, and this is clever, he made him look even worse. He entered him in races on soft ground that he knew the horse hated. This totally tanked his official rating and qualified Yellow Sam for something called a handicap race, making him a massive long shot. But the real masterstroke? He picked a tiny remote racetrack that had one single critical vulnerability.
So on race day, the whole thing just unfolded like clockwork. 25 minutes before the race, Curly's accomplice, a guy named Benny, walks into the only phone booth at the track and pretends to have this long, tearful call with his supposedly dying aunt. With that phone line blocked, Curly's secret network of 300 people, spread all over Ireland, placed their bets on Yellow Sam all at the same time. The off-track bookies were suddenly flooded with money on this horse that was supposed to be a total nobody. They start panicking, trying to call the racetrack to slash the odds, but of course, they couldn't get through. The line was busy.
That one occupied phone booth, that was the linchpin. It completely severed communication at the most critical moment. By the time the race actually started, the bookies at the track had no idea this betting storm had even happened, so the generous 20-to-1 odds were locked in. And Curly, who was literally hiding in the bushes watching, saw his horse, who was actually a fantastic runner on firm ground, storm to an easy victory.
And the result of all this genius? Curly's initial £15,000 investment ballooned into £300,000. In today's money, that's about $3.5 million. And the best part? He hadn't broken a single law. He simply understood the system, the rules, the technology, the flow of information better than the people who actually created it.
So, Curly beat a system designed by humans. But what happens when the rules aren't written down in some bookie's ledger? What if the system is just the brutal, unforgiving code of nature itself?
All right, now we're going to jump to the coldest place on Earth, Antarctica. This is the stage for our second story, and it revolves around a tiny creature making a decision that baffled scientists and, honestly, broke the hearts of millions of people who saw it happen on film.
To really get this mystery, you have to understand the system that penguins live in. Why would they choose this frozen hellscape? Well, it's for one simple reason: safety. The cold is so ridiculously extreme that no major land predators can survive there. It makes it the perfect, safe nursery to raise their young. The ocean is their restaurant. Yeah, it's full of food, but it's also full of danger. But out on the ice, they're safe. It's this brutal trade-off: endure unimaginable hardship for a secure home base.
But, not all penguins play by the same rules. You take the emperor penguin dad, he's the ultimate martyr. He'll starve for months in the dark in a blizzard just to protect his egg. But the Adelie penguin, the one from our story, he's more of a crafty opportunist. The best nests are built with stones, and the males will cleverly steal the best ones from their neighbors to try and impress a mate. They're social, they're clever, and they operate by a completely different set of rules.
Which is what makes this next part so bizarre. Back in 2007, a documentary crew, led by the famous director Werner Herzog, filmed an Adelie penguin do the unthinkable. It just left its colony, turned its back on the ocean where all the food was, and started walking inland, towards a 700-kilometer range of barren, frozen mountains, a place with no food, no water, and absolutely no hope of survival.
So, what on earth happened? Well, the scientific term for it is basically a psychotic breakdown. You see, penguins have this incredible internal GPS. They use the Earth's magnetic field, the sun, everything to navigate. But sometimes, maybe from a disease or extreme stress or starvation, that system just glitches. The internal compass breaks, its map gets corrupted. And even though the right path, the ocean, is right there in front of it, the penguin is physically incapable of seeing it. It's following a new, fatal set of rules written inside its own broken mind. Okay, so we've gone from a single creature with a broken internal compass to the global stage. What happens when the entire world's map starts to change? What kind of opportunities pop up when the fundamental system of geography and climate starts to rewrite itself?
And that, believe it or not, brings us to our third and final story, the new Cold War, that's being fought over Greenland. This gigantic, ice-covered island has suddenly become the chessboard for a high-stakes geopolitical game between the world's biggest superpowers.
I mean, the sheer scale of what's at stake here is just staggering. For centuries, Greenland was just seen as a frozen wasteland. But now, as the ice is melting, its hidden value is being uncovered. It's the perfect military perch right between America and Russia. It holds vast deposits of rare earth minerals. We're talking enough to potentially break China's near-total monopoly on them. There's oil, and maybe biggest of all, a new shipping lane, the Northwest Passage, is opening up, which could literally rewrite global trade routes.
And you know, America has been eyeing this prize for a very long time. The first attempts to buy Greenland go all the way back to the 1860s. In 1946, President Truman offered $100 million in gold for it. But the recent push has been way more aggressive, and it's a huge signal that the game has fundamentally changed.
This kind of aggressive talk just goes to show how high the stakes have become. The old rules of diplomacy are really being tested here because the physical rules of our planet are changing. A melting Arctic is creating a whole new system, a new map, and a new race for power.
So here we are, a gambler, a penguin, and a superpower. A totally random trio, right? But now, let's connect the dots. Let's reveal the one powerful idea that ties them all together.
Brawny Curly looked at a man-made system of betting and communication. He didn't break the rules, not one. He just saw an unseen vulnerability, that single phone line, and he built his entire, brilliant strategy around exploiting it.
In the exact same way, global powers are looking at the planetary system. As the climate changes and the ice melts, a new set of geographic and economic rules is emerging right before our eyes, and they are positioning themselves to exploit this new reality for huge strategic and economic gain. Ultimately, what this all comes down to is that success, and sometimes even survival, isn't just about playing the game. It's about understanding the deep, often invisible, system that dictates the rules in the first place. Curlians saw the hidden flow of information. The superpowers see the new flow of trade and power. And that tragic penguin? It's a stark reminder of the fatal consequences when the system you rely on, whether it's internal or external, completely and totally breaks down.
And that forces us to ask a question of ourselves, right? What are the hidden rules, the unseen phone lines, or the melting patches of ice in our own lives? What invisible systems are shaping our careers, our relationships, our world, and more importantly, are we seeing them clearly?